Imagine if Hitler had actually won World War II. How different would our world be today? What would our daily lives look like? Sounds like a crazy fiction, right? But believe it or not, it almost happened. By the early 1940s, the world was burning in the flames of World War II. Nazi Germany had already taken over Poland and France and was bombing Britain non-stop. Hitler's army had pushed deep into the Soviet Union. Meanwhile, Germany's ally, Japan, had captured parts of Asia and the Pacific. The world was at a turning point. Millions were dying, and the war had spread across Europe, Asia, and Africa. By 1941, Germany controlled most of Europe. Japan had attacked Pearl Harbor, and Italy was fighting in North Africa. The Allies, America, the UK, and the Soviet Union, were under extreme pressure. It felt like the world was heading into an unending darkness. But in 1942, things began to change. In the Battle of Stalingrad, the Soviets pushed the German army back after a bloody fight. In North Africa, the Allies halted German and Italian forces. And in the Battle of Midway, America crushed the Japanese Navy. Then came D-Day in 1944, when the Allies landed in Normandy and began to liberate Western Europe. At the same time, the Soviets advanced from the east. By 1945, Germany was surrounded. In April, Hitler took his own life, and by May, Berlin had fallen. Just months later, America dropped atomic bombs on Hiroshima and Nagasaki, forcing Japan to surrender. That's how the Axis powers, Germany, Japan, and Italy, lost the war. But what if Hitler and the Axis had won World War II? The world today would be divided into two super empires: a Nazi empire controlling Europe, North Africa, and the Middle East; a Japanese empire dominating Asia and the Pacific, including China, Southeast Asia, and even parts of Australia. Britain would have been under Nazi control. Countries like France, Poland, and the Netherlands would be fully occupied. The USA would be isolated, and even its leaders might lean pro-Hitler. Daily life would be nothing like today. Nazi ideology would control everything: what you learn, watch, speak, even where you live and work. There would be no free press, no elections, and no internet. Only government-approved news would be shown. Books written by religious scholars, black writers, or anyone opposing Nazis would be banned. Schools would teach only Nazi propaganda, and history would be rewritten to portray Hitler as a hero. There would be no free markets, and private businesses would only exist if they aligned with Nazi goals. Most factories would make weapons, not goods for people. Companies like Google or Apple would never exist. The government would control all technology to serve its own agenda. The world would lose its diversity. Different cultures, religions, and traditions would vanish. Nazis believed only one race deserved to live. Religions like Judaism, Islam, and even some Christian sects would be banned. Cities known for culture and art would become dull and lifeless. Even how people spoke would change. German might become the national language of Europe and parts of America. Music, food, fashion, and art not aligned with Nazi views would be banned. Science might still progress, but without ethics. Nazis were known for cruel human experiments. If they had won, such experiments would become common. Medical research wouldn't be for curing diseases, but for controlling the population or making us so-called perfect human. This isn't fiction, it actually happened. In the T4 experiment, Nazis sterilized and murdered thousands. In concentration camps, they experimented on people, changing eye color, testing pain tolerance, and experimenting on twins. Nazis didn't care for space exploration or the environment, unless it helped them win wars. They built the V-2 rocket, the world's first missile, not for space, but to destroy London. The man who built it, Werner von Braun, later helped the US build space rockets. Under Nazi rule, people lived in constant fear. The government spied on everything. Neighbors spied on each other. If you said the wrong thing, you could be arrested. Again, this is not fiction. It happened. Hitler had the Gestapo, a secret police force. They arrested anyone suspected of being anti-Nazi. People were encouraged to report their friends, co-workers, even family members. There were even cases where children reported their own parents. Public punishments kept people scared and silent. So, you might ask, could this really have happened? Yes. There were many moments in World War II where the Allies were on the verge of defeat. If Hitler had attacked Britain earlier, if the US hadn't joined the war, if Germany had captured Moscow, today's map would look very different. If Hitler had won, the world would be cold, dark, and controlled. Technology would be used to spy and dominate, not to help. Religions and cultures would be destroyed. Thinking about this reminds us how much we take for granted. Freedom of speech, democracy, ethical science, and the right of every human to live freely, regardless of race, belief, or background. None of this would exist if the Nazis had won. So the lesson is clear. Freedom and peace are never guaranteed. History can repeat itself if we stop paying attention. Hitler may have lost the war, but we must keep asking, what if he had won? Only by remembering the past can we protect the future. Today, the world is once again at a dangerous crossroads. The egos of a few powerful people could ignite another devastating war. And it's always the common people, like you and